What's up, YouTube? I'm the Calcara 131, and in this gel test video, we're going to be testing the Hornady Super Performance 53 grain VMAX. The reason I'm testing it is because for one reason or another, there's a large portion of people that want to use varmint rounds like this for self-defense. You know, the biggest reason, from what I've seen and understand, is that once again, people are seriously over-worrying about over-penetration. You know, it's its own debacle in the gun world, you know. For self-defense ammo, you want a round that penetrates just right but doesn't penetrate too far. You want it to penetrate but not penetrate. You can't really have one without the risk of the other. So, but people still want to get rid of that risk. So people will run VMAX bullets. VMAX is Hornady's varmint round. So they're made for hunting varmints, small animals, and in tissue, ballistics gel, a body, they pretty much just explode as soon as they hit the target. All right, so this Hornady Super Performance, the VMAX, just some basic info on it, I guess, before I go shooting it. The actual ballistic info is right here. Hopefully that's in frame and you can see it. Pause it there and look at it. But from the muzzle, should be about 3465 FPS. Zero it at 200 yards. You're just over 1 inch high at 100. 300, you're down 5.6. Yada yada. Like I said, pause that, look at it. But this is 53 grain VMAX. VMAX, for those that haven't seen them, is that the red ballistic tip. It's a varmint round, so basically this is made for hunting varmints like groundhogs, squirrels, prairie dogs, beavers. I've read birds. I've never seen someone shoot birds with a rifle, but I mean, I guess if you did, this is what you would use to shoot them with. But that ballistic tip right there, how it works, as I understand it, I'll try to roll in a picture from the Hornady website, but basically behind this there's a small little cavity, like a hollow point, and whenever this hits it, this is supposed to push back into it and it'll help make that hollow point expand and break apart immediately. So that's, I guess, how this works from what I understand of the picture on the Hornady website. But whenever I say break up quickly, I mean it literally. So that, what I'm talking about, and hopefully what we'll see whenever I actually put it in this ballistics gel, is how a varmint round is really supposed to work. So look at all the animals that I listed. Like I said, groundhog, prairie dog, birds, I guess, any kind of small varmint. One thing they all have in common is they're all really small. So a problem with using a stereotypical, like a soft point, any kind of soft point, is there's normally a neck on it. A neck is, I'll link to my Spear Gold Dot 223 video where I kind of showed it, but a neck is basically the small little bit of space from whenever the bullet hits the ballistics gel, the tissue, the body of the animal you're hunting, whatever, whenever it hits it until it starts to expand. There's normally a small neck, 1.5 to 3 inches, depending on various factors. But the problem is when you're hunting animals as small as those varmints that I mentioned, a 2.5, 3 inch neck, before it starts to expand and do a lot of tissue damage, that could actually be a considerable portion of how big the animal is. So that's what you use these varmint rounds for. They are made, from what I understand, and hopefully what we will see in the ballistics gel, they're made to fragment and all but blow up as soon as they hit tissue, ballistics gel in this case. So that is why, before I do any of the shooting, hopefully it'll prove this, but my hypothesis is that this is not going to penetrate very far. And that is why I personally, again, getting into my sort of opinions on this before I even do the test, I do not really recommend people ever use varmint rounds for self-defense. Home defense, self-defense, whatever. The only time I ever really kind of recommend it is if you are living in like an apartment or something like that, where if you happen to miss the bad guy, the criminal, and you hit a wall, you would literally have 2 sheets of drywall and then you're in someone else's house. Maybe in that case I would recommend it. I don't know how this would react going through drywall. For all I know, it would continue on. Drywall isn't hard enough to make it explode. I don't know. I haven't tested that, and I actually don't think I've ever seen anyone else test it with varmint rounds. But that's the only time I would really recommend anyone use VMAX rounds, varmint rounds for self-defense. Any other time, I don't recommend it, because from what I understand, again, and from what we're about to find out, this stuff does not penetrate very far. It does a pretty impressive amount of tissue damage up to like 5 inches in. So it might look impressive until you consider the fact that there's a possibility a good possibility that amount of tissue damage that this fragments and actually tears up might not be deep enough to hit vital organs. So that's what I'm expecting to happen. I'm guessing maybe 6 inches of penetration. Oh, damn it. I have to pick that up. But, like I said, I'm guessing about 6 inches of penetration, roughly, and that's about it. And they're all going to be super small fragments. That's what I'm guessing. So, again, I kind of got off track, but some more basic information on this. Super Performance, Hornady, VMAX, they offer a slew of different weight ranges for VMAX. If you look on their website, just the actual bullets that they sell, you can get them from 45 and 223 caliber, .224. You can get them from like 45 up to 60, 65 plus. So there is a huge weight range that you can get these in. This cost me about $22, so they're pretty expensive. 20 rounds, it cost over $20, so it's more than $1 a round. It does a lot of tissue damage, but not very deep in. So, as I've said in, I think, every ballistics gel video I've done so far, hasn't been that many, but the standard I use is 12 to 18 inches. That is the FBI's penetration standard. Disclaimer, I know this is not to FBI spec. There's probably hardly anything about this that is actually to FBI specifications for their testing. However, I am still going to use their 12 to 18 inch penetration as the standard that I'm looking for. Reason being, again, I've explained this in I think both other gel test videos I've done, but the reason you want 12 to 18 inches of penetration for a bullet is because the FBI, they're trying to make sure it'll perform in the worst possible scenario. So yeah, if you had a perfect, clear front shot, totally nothing moving, yeah, you probably wouldn't need 12 to 18 inches to hit vital organs. However, that's not the real world. In self-defense encounters, active shooter encounters, any kind of gun-related encounter, people are moving, you know? You're not always going to have just a perfectly square shot at someone's center mass. People might be at angles. Worst case scenario, you might have to shoot through someone's shoulder, through the muscle, bone, muscle, fat, muscle, ribs, and then into vital organs. Someone might have a gun out, and your bullet might have to go up someone's arm or through their hand, and then still penetrate into their chest deep enough to get vital organs. So, as I understand it, that is why they use a 12 to 18 inch standard for their bullet designs. Yes, I know some people are probably going to comment and say that the 12 to 18 inches is designed for handgun rounds, not rifle rounds. I still use it for rifle rounds. If you don't, do your own gel tests and use your own standards. But I'm still going to use 12 to 18 inches of penetration, what I'm looking for in this. Having said that, I guarantee you it's not going to get anywhere near it. I would be surprised if this gets much past halfway to the minimum. If this gets much past 6 inches, I'll be surprised. But I'm going to be 5 yards away, 16-inch barrel out of a, I don't know what this was originally because I kind of pieced it together, but it's a 16-inch barrel, 2 16-inch blocks of clear ballistics gel, again the Hornady 53 grain VMAX 223, and let's step on back and see what happens. Alright, this is first time shooting the 53 grain VMAX into bare ballistics gel, 5 yards away. Alright, so that was the Hornady Super Performance going into bare gel, 5 yards away. Pretty much exactly what I expected. So I checked the slow-mo footage. The actual core of the bullet arced up right here. You should be able to see it better over here, but it arced up and it popped out right here. So it did admittedly penetrate farther than I expected it to. The bullet jumped out at 9 inches. However, as you also could see in the slow-mo video, it didn't have a lot of energy left, considering it just kind of popped out relatively slowly. It didn't keep flying off that way, it just popped straight up. So I would be surprised had it went straight, had I put this shot lower in the gel. I would be surprised if it had actually gotten very much past it. So once again, as you can see better over here on your side, it's a bit clearer on this side, it did exactly what it was designed to do. There's maybe half an inch, not even really. There's about 3/4 of an inch until it really starts to expand, but even as soon as it hits the gel, I can see that it's starting to break up. But you can see very clearly within pretty much everything it does is within 5.5 inches. All of this tissue damage is within 5.5 inches, which isn't what I want, again, because I'm looking at this in the aspect of self-defense. But that is exactly what it's made to do in the body of a small varmint, of small, or take your pick of whatever type of varmint you want to be hunting. That would do a whole lot of damage to it. And would it do a whole lot of damage to a person? Yeah, it would. And had you shot someone perfectly, perfect, straight up, clean shot from the front, no one moving, would that have been enough to put someone down? Maybe. I doubt it would have been enough to kill someone. Would it have made them think twice and said, hey, maybe I shouldn't be robbing this guy? Probably. Then again, at the same time, though, as we've seen in multiple home videos from security cameras, a lot of the times just hearing someone shoot back at you will cause them to run. Does that mean that we should rely on warning shots? No. But would this cause someone to think twice? Yes. Would it reliably put down a target? I would say no. Yeah, that should be good enough. Maybe a little smaller, some fat. Oh, hey. So you might be wondering, Calcara, what the hell is you doing now? Well, as I said in the beginning of this video, towards the beginning anyway, one of the reasons that the FBI uses the 12 to 18 inch standard is because the real world is you're not always going to get a perfect shot straight on. So I listed a couple examples of instances where you're not going to have a perfect front shot. One of them, I would say the worst, is going to be if you have to hit someone from the side. adjust this camera real quick. Alright. One of those is going to be if you have to hit someone from the side. So if you see someone in your house with the gun threatening a family member or doing whatever other nefarious actions they're doing, and you have something like this, you might have to take a side shot and have to go through a whole lot more tissue in order to penetrate vital organs and reliably stop a threat. So, there's that. I would say the worst possible scenario you could do without them having body armor, I guess. The next one would be if someone had, be better if I had a pistol, but if someone had a gun pointed at you or they had a knife or something like this, they had their hand out in front of them for whatever reason. Now, as we saw from the bear gel test of this Hornady VMAX, the vast majority of the damage it did was 5.5 inches and less. There was a small chunk that went a little bit farther. It might have made it to 10 inches, maybe 12. I kind of doubt it, but it didn't make it to the minimum. Let's put it that way. I doubt it would have. So, considering that the vast majority of the tissue damage it did was within 5.5 inches, I was curious, in that case, what really would happen if someone broke into your house, they had a gun pointed at you, and you had to shoot them, and because it's human nature, you're going to super focus on whatever the threat is. You're going to focus on the gun. Police encounters have shown that it's not uncommon to get shot in the hand because that's what you're focusing on. So, if someone had a gun pointed at you and you shot them, and you did happen to hit a hand that had to travel up the hand, through the hand, depending on the angle you hit, if they had it one-handed, because most criminals don't know how to shoot, it might have to travel long ways up the hand and arm before it penetrates out and hits your chest, hits their chest. So, this is going to be, for this second test, this is going to be my arm. So, we're going to move these back. I'm going to put this kind of, you can't see. Hold on. Move this camera back so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay. So, once again. Now, another disclaimer. I know this is far from scientific. I understand that. This is about 50% entertainment, 50% just one data point that you can use to make a slightly more informed decision on if you want to use this for self-defense. So, we are going to be shooting 53 grain VMAX, 5 yards, same distance, but I'm going to have this little bit of gel here in front of it, which is kind of, sort of, roughly the size of my arm-ish. I'm going to have it kind of slightly angled out in front of it, as if it was, again, a hand holding a gun for whatever reason. I'll make it a slightly more shallow angle. I don't think it's fair to put it more straight, so it'll have to go all the way through this, but this is just kind of to test what will this VMAX do if you had a self-defense, home defense encounter, and you did have to shoot through their arm, or your bullet did go through their arm. Would it, as we saw here, it took 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch until it really blew up. Will it go through this and then have a decent amount of damage done to this? I don't think so, but that's what we're testing it out for. So again, I'm going to be 5 yards away, 53 grain VMAX, and we will see what this bullet does. Alright, once again, 53 grain VMAX, 16-inch barrel. This time, I have the fake arm in front of it. Let's see how it handles going through some tissue. Like it had to go through a hand or something, then it kept going and had to hit your chest. Let's see how it handles that. forget how this was set up. Well, like that, I believe. Or is it like this? I don't know. You guys can tell better because you saw the slow-mo footage of how exactly that was set up. But it was set up like that. Yeah, set up like that. Alright. So, I'm surprised. As I saw right over here, even after it went through, let me get out of the light, hopefully you can see that a bit better. The gel isn't really super clear, but again, hopefully you guys can tell. I can't see into the camera very well, but there was a pretty good amount of tissue disruption there. A lot of fragmentation, again, as is expected from the VMAX, but even after it penetrated through that, it hit this bare gel, and it still penetrated 5 inches, 5¼ inches. So, I'm not surprised. That's pretty much exactly what I expected, to be completely frank, to be totally honest. I really expected it to do something similar to that. So, it did a huge amount of damage here in this first block, the arm. I'm trying to see if I can see any. I mean, there's a whole lot of small little fragments and shit that are in it. Like here, I just ripped it apart. Here's one small little fragment. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but real small little fragments all throughout the tissue. But if you did have to shoot someone and it went through their arm or their hand and then it hit their chest, it very definitely, in my admittedly unexperienced, uneducated opinion, but I do not believe for a second that this would be enough to put someone down. It might make them think twice, maybe, depending on if they're high on meth or PCP or crack or whatever, take your pick of drugs that are out there. This, I do not believe for a second, would be enough to cause a person reliably to die or leave you alone or something like that. So, you're looking at only one chunk, really, and it only got to, like I said, 5.5 inches. The rest real small little fragments that barely would do much damage at all. In conclusion, yeah, no, I still don't recommend it for self-defense. That's exactly what I came into this thinking, and I fully knew that's how I was going to leave this test thinking too. So, the problem with the VMAX for self-defense is it just doesn't penetrate enough. You saw, best case scenario, completely bare gel, it got to 8.75 inches before it exited the block. And again, as you can see from the slow-mo video, it didn't exactly have a whole lot of energy. It didn't skip out and then keep going. It skipped out and just kind of popped right up. After the slow-mo stopped, if you pay attention, you can see where the bullet lands over here and bounces off. It didn't have enough energy, I don't believe for a second, to penetrate to 12 inches, the minimum of what I was looking for. So, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, well, worst case scenario, you have to shoot, again, a side shot all the way through. Definitely wouldn't have enough. If you had to shoot through someone's arm, my mock arm, it definitely wouldn't have enough. The main piece only got to about 5.5 inches, 5.25, and it definitely would not have killed someone if they were intent on causing you great bodily harm. So, yeah, VMAX bullets, any kind of varmint rounds, I can't recommend them for self-defense. The only time I will recommend it is, again, like I said towards the beginning, if you live in a apartment and you have one thin little wall away from someone else's house. However, even then, I really don't even want to recommend it then, because I've I've looked. I have done a bit of research on it. I have not been able to find any reliable, actually reported on situations of a civilian having shot a bad guy, it going through that person, and then hurting someone else. I've not found a single issue of that. Police, yes, but that's because look where police shoot people. You know, they're more likely to shoot someone in a crowded area, as opposed to civilians, not quite as much. I believe people really overly worry about the over-penetration problem. I think they do. I think the chances of, if you break it down, the chances of you getting into some kind of home defense encounter, the chances of you needing to actually fire a gun at someone, even smaller than that, and the chances of you hitting that person and it penetrating all the way through them, smaller than that. The chances of it going through that person, going through a wall, and then someone else happening to be over there is incredibly small. It's so small, again, I have not been able to find any instances of it happening. I think people need to really stop worrying so much about over-penetration. That's my personal opinion. So, the Hornady VMAX is a good hunting round if you're hunting for small game. If you're hunting for a larger two-legged game, not so much. I would still stick with my personal experience, a bonded soft point. Again, the spear video I did, 62 grain spear gold dot, worked perfectly, absolutely perfectly. I would imagine pretty much any 62, 64 grain soft point would do pretty much exactly the same, as long as it's bonded. So, if you ever see a deal on decent bonded soft point, 60, 64, 65 grain, anywhere in there, I'd get it. Because I guarantee you it will perform better than this Hornady VMAX against larger two-legged predators. So, that's my gel test of the Hornady Super Performance 53 grain VMAX. What did you guys think? Did you enjoy the video? Tell me in the comments. Do you run varmint ammo for self-defense? And tell me why. I'm more than willing to have a logical debate with you if you do choose to run this for one reason or another. If you liked the video, you found it fun, entertaining, informative maybe, give me a like, comment down below again if you have any other kinds of ammo you want to see me test. I will do my best to find it. The Corona apocalypse makes it really hard, but I will do my humble best. Yeah. I apologize for the audio in this video. My audio recorder died. I don't know what's wrong with it, but kind of died in this video, so I'm just using the built-in mic on my phone. So the audio is not going to be as good as normal, but it is what it is. So that was my test of the Hornady 53 grain VMAX. Hunting varmints, thumbs up. Self-defense, hunting people, thumbs down. My personal opinion. I am the Calcar 131, signing off.